Hello everyone, this is Jack and this is Terrablox, Devblog, blah blah blah. And okay, you remember last time I started saying something and then I never finished it? I was talking about converting my GLSLES shaders to HLSL9 shaders, and I've done that now. And one of the reason I added it was to put in depth of field, and if you've been on the forums you'll see the pictures of that, and I'm going to show you it now. And I've been doing other fixes as well. You can now go full screen on the menu. It's still not perfect, there's still a minor issue with it, but so you can do it, just click that, but like you see at the moment it does that, but it goes back to normal, so I'm not that concerned with it. I fixed this. There was a bug where, you know, when you keep creating a normal map you can just leave that blank. If you actually saved it once, it would recognise that you've tried to load that game before 50 odd times and it will create 50 of these, but it doesn't anymore, and includes it in the list once. So I'm going to show you an adventure map first. I'm going to show you a huge one and 10 foot. It does actually, the depth of field looks really cool with snow as well actually, but I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, so this is a normal world. Well, it's not a normal world, it's the height map world. But if you look carefully you can see the trees over there are slightly blurry and the clouds are definitely blurry. And if we go find a better cliff to look at, like here maybe, you see that's definitely blurry over there. Let's build a tower. Oh yeah, that's better. So you can see it's definitely blurry in the distance, and it's not the best quality blur at the moment. I'm going to fix that. I'll explain what I'm actually doing at the moment in a sec. So let me just zoom out here. You can see it. Okay, my field of my view distance isn't very far, but you can see that's definitely blurring, albeit not quite highest quality. But the transition is smooth. There's nothing wrong with that. And if we open up debug now, you can see I've got 3 test images there. Let's pause it here. So this is the normal one. This is exactly what is drawn in the world. That's this. And this is the depth buffer. This is it's grayscale. You can go higher, but I don't really need it for depth of field. So this is just a grayscale depth buffer. And as you can see, the darker areas are what will appear blurrier. They're distant. So if we go into the game and zoom out, you can see everything gets darker, even though it's still visible. And when it's darker, it's blurrier. So that's basically how it works. You can see this tower here. If you look down it, it gets darker at the bottom. It's very simple, really. And this is okay. That's the last one. These are what I call my MIPT targets, and this is a reference to mip mapping, really. But it's not doing mip mapping in game. But basically, what this means is this is a lower res version of that. And so this is a lower res version of that one, this is a lower res version of that one, and this is a lower res version of that one. So it's half, then half, then half. And I call these targets MIPT 2, MIPT 4 and MIPT 8. Currently what we're using here is MIPT 8, so it's supposed to represent the furthest away, the most blurry part. And this is called my combine one, so that's all of these put together. So that is currently I'm not using these two, I'm using that and that. So what it does is it takes that and that, and then it uses this to determine which of those it should pick a pixel from, and it actually combines the 2 pixels, which I might change, but I'm not sure, because that's what blends it. So in darker areas it will draw a lower res, it will draw from the lower res texture. On the lighter areas it will more likely pick a pixel from the higher res version. So look at the depth map here. So let's get this angled nicely. So you can see this area here is sharp and that area is blurry. And if you look on a depth map, light, dark. Simple. And yeah, my favourite bits are the clouds actually. They actually look really nice when they're blurred. Anyway, so let's come out of that. Let's just turn that off. Turn it off. Go back to the menu, and I'm going to show you I'll show you rain because I just finished working on that. I just finished speeding up because it was very slow moving before. Still not perfect, but yeah. And if we look at the depth buffer, so we'll see that that's also rendered onto it. So the advantages of that I'm not sure, but it doesn't cost anything, so might as well. And it looks really nice when you're zoomed out actually, because you just see very faint bars. Kind of like real rain, you can't see it perfectly in the distance, so it's just sort of a fade. So obviously it's a bit flickery at the moment because of the poor quality blurring on the surface, but I think it looks quite nice. And the one I did show off on the forums was snow. So that would be this. I could show you Christmas. Same thing, just with presents. Okay. So that's my favourite. It just looks so nice when it's white for some reason. Also, I changed the format of the player models. So currently they don't have lighting at the moment, and also his arms are missing. I'll fix these, but they're not hard to do. They're not major things. So actually, it's weird. Studio does use default lighting on its vertex buffers if you don't pass them through a shader. Second I passed it through a shader, it stopped working. I thought it would sort that out in its colour beforehand, but it doesn't. So I'm gonna have to write it into the shader. But it needs to be. It didn't used to be passed through a shader. Now it does have to, because it has to render onto the depth buffer. As you can see, the character there is rendered onto it. So that has to happen. But yeah, it's not difficult, so I'll do that. Snow looks so pretty, especially at a distance. That just looks so awesome. It looks hazier. It looks more misty. It just adds such a nice effect to it. Like before, all the snow did was make it look grainy, and that is just so nice now. Ah, can't stop looking at it. It's so beautiful. Yeah, it's just the poor blurring that puts me off, but like I said, I can fix that. I think that's everything I can show you for now. So let's go through what I'm actually doing, if I can remember. Actually, I think I pretty much did go through it, didn't I? Oh yeah, but I'll explain how I'm going to get the blurring better. So basically we have these three MIP surfaces. So this one's smaller than the normal surface by half, and then this one's smaller than that MIP surface, and this one's smaller than that MIP surface. So this is the lowest res one, and what I'm doing is I'm drawing this to the second one, and then drawing that to that one. So it gets blurrier each time, and this makes it look smoother at this end instead of just going straight from that to that, which it looks worse than it does now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in a little blur shader that just slightly blurs it, not a massive Gaussian blur, awesome shader, because a good one of that requires 2 passes, and the problem with doing that is I want to try and take the Z buffer into account, so that you don't get those glowy edges. I'll just actually quickly show you the glowy edges. But it's a common thing that happens. I wanted to try and fix it, but I think fixing it might cause a slight performance drop, just because of the size and of the shader that's required. Because you're not just picking 1 pixel off a texture or 2, you're actually picking like 8 to 16 pixels off the texture at any point. So for every pixel you're trying to get 8 by 8 pixels, and it's just very slow. But yeah, look, you can see these slight edges here. They're appearing because while the depth buffer here, I'm trying to point to it with my finger, while the depth buffer here is white, it's black there, and this is blurring slightly over to that. So I'm not quite sure how I want to solve this. Ideally, when you're blurring the surface, you take the depth buffer into account and you don't blur that far. Like, you can blur white area over the black, but you can't blur black over the white, if you see what I mean. It's quite tricky to... can't even think of it in my head at the moment, but yeah, I plan to fix it. But yeah, basically when I'm drawing these, I'm going to pass them through a little blur shader. We'll just blur it up slightly, and it should be quick enough. And do that each time I draw that. So hopefully when it gets down to here, it's a lot smoother. It's not still trying to be square. So we'll see. I think that's everything. Yeah, that's everything. This doesn't... don't even know what is this crap. That's drawing to the final thing, and none of that's working at the moment. Oh no, that's drawing to the final thing. What's that then? Oh, that's combining them. Okay. I can't remember what I'm doing half the time. Oh yeah, I'll show you how it's actually doing the depth of field. It's very simple. So it gets your depth, which is from the depth buffer. So depth map, that's my depth buffer. Texture on the screen, position on the screen, and basically that's a value from 0 to 1. Oops. That's a value from 0 to 1, and it gets the first part, and then it gets the reverse of the other part. So you get 2 halves. So if this was 0.2, this would be 0.8. If that was 0.8, this would be 0.2. So it's always within that range, and you just pick how much of that texture is going to be on there, and then you put them together. Simple. It's probably not accurate, but I don't know. So it might be accurate, might not be. Who knows? But it works, and there's no major bugs with it, so I'm happy with that. Very simple. And yeah. So that's what I've been doing. Hope you enjoyed this video, and goodbye.